Hello, and welcome to the second season of The Howl. I am your host for today, Nicholas Barber. Before I start this episode, I just want to announce two things. Moving forward, this project will now have a huge variety of guests and will now be hosted by or co hosted by a variation of me and my partners in Howling Gale Entertainment, who you will get to know here in just a moment. If you haven't yet, do hit that follow button to be notified when the next episode comes out. First off, you may or may not have seen him hovering around the Howl before or in Howling Gale, Juan Raymundo Ramos.
Yes. Hello, viewers and listeners. My name is Juan Raymundo Ramos. Very excited to be here and very excited to also be one of the co-hosts for future episodes of The Howl. So, very excited to be here, Nick.
And secondly, our brand new talent here at Howling Gale Entertainment, kababayan, Nichole Ruiz.
Hi, guys. It's nice to be finally officially part of the Howl. But yeah, hi, I'm Nichole Ruiz. I'm the new marketing director at Howling Gale Entertainment, and I'm also a freelance director of photography, director, and first assistant camera.
And may I just add that these two are award winning filmmakers right now. So that is.
Woo!
That is
Next
a blessing.
naman.
Gumaganoon. So before we go into everything else, I just want to touch base with the viewers or the listeners on what is the Howl? Like what have we planned for the next half a year and beyond for this season of the Howl?
So, as you may or may not know, we started this podcast, I believe, in 2018 or 19. And our goal was to basically educate listeners on a variety of issues and perspectives that people have. So in total, we have currently 5 episodes for the first season. And then suddenly, COVID happened in 2019 and 2020. So a lot of our projects were basically came to a halt. And it took us a couple years before we can get back on track with all our projects, including our feature film that we worked on last year that is now in a film festival run called Tahanan Home. And spoiler alert, we won the 2022 Culver City Film Festival as the grand prize best feature film. So we
Let's
are
go.
very happy about that. And we're excited for what's to come this year. We are currently working on a few projects along the way, and we're working also with other clientele and also other people who have a variety of ideas for us. So coming back to the Howl, we want to continue this podcast because we just believe that this is something that people can learn from. We have a lot of people in mind who, are basically going to be on board with us for this podcast and can learn from as well. So very excited to be here and very excited to be one of the co-hosts now. It was Nick before for the first 5 episodes, but now it's me, Nick, and Nichole doing the co-hosting. So yeah.
You should change your name to something Nick as well. So we're all just Nick. No, but Nichole, how about you share a story of how we met in Estados Unidos in the great America? You wanna brush that
It's
up?
actually, yeah, it's actually a funny story. I was pretty new to LA when I met these guys, and I feel very lucky that I was able to meet them at the time. As a Filipino, like from the motherland, who comes to America, and is surrounded by all these like new people, new faces, and introduced to new culture. It's great and everything, but I feel like as Filipinos, we always, get drawn to each other just by, the sheer community. And at the time, I was really, really trying to look for like some Filipino friends in LA, but most of my classmates at the time were foreigners, or if not Americans. And I was working one day on set on one of my friends' film sets, basically. And that's how I met Juan and Nick. But how I found out that they were Filipino is that I don't know, I was doing my work, whatever, and then these guys started speaking Tagalog, and of course my ears like immediately perked up, and I was like, did I just hear that right? And I was like, are you guys Filipino? And that's the start of it.
The rest is history. Yeah, me and Juan were
Exactly.
kind of. This was in Badder's shoot, right?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, this is
Thank
in
you,
Badder.
Batter.
Yeah, thank you, Badder.
But
We.
also not thank
Mhm.
you, Batter. You know why.
Yeah, yeah. But that day, me and Juan were just like, we were doing sound and BTS. We were also filming the documentary part of that film, right? Like
Yes.
the in the
Mhm.
making and interviewing all the actors and actresses. And then when we saw Nicole, I was like, "Yo, Juan, I bet you that woman is either Samoan or Filipino." And he's like, "How will we know?" I'm like, "Come here." And then we go to the crafty table and we just start speaking Tagalog, and you're just like,
And then we just
now.
what like started hanging out. Like how did it even happen? Like did we just all like go out to dinner or something? Because I'm
I
I
trying
think
to
not. Yeah, I
remember.
think we just added each other, and it just started snowballing. Like we just started hanging out more
Mm-hmm.
and more, and
Yeah.
moving on to the days we're here now. And it's
Exactly.
so funny because before COVID, uh, we were talking about building a community. Like we know all these filmmakers from different parts of the world, different parts of America, and we're like, why don't we know any Filipino filmmakers? Like, what's wrong here?
Mm-hmm.
And making Tahanan actually kind of like it was a manifestation of that. I like we just
Mm-hmm.
started getting connected to so many talented Filipinos,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
and now we're here. Like some people are gonna be weirded out, like, oh, you guys make films. Why do you have a podcast? So I guess Juan, you can answer that question here real quick.
Just to backtrack on Howling Gale, we started in 2015, and our goal initially was to create stories that will have people learn about different things. We created a bunch of different things, actually. We created a web series that's a zombie web series. We created a mini documentary about people telling their stories that's posted on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. And we created a short film that deals with suicidal thoughts and domestic abuse. And it got into a few film festivals in LA as well. So yeah, we just are trying to create projects that will get people to think about certain things, certain issues, etc. And then fast forward to today, COVID basically happened, so it kind of put a halt to a lot of our projects. So what ended up happening was I don't think we ever created a project in a couple of years, right, Nick? We were just in a sudden stop, I guess, right?
Yeah, we do have that one project that very the I don't want to name the name yet, but in Big Bear, we shot it in Big Bear, so that's in
Oh,
our
okay.
tubes.
Okay.
Yeah. But that
Yeah.
was literally like our like everyone was like coming out of COVID, and as a creative, I think during COVID, especially in LA, like when all the regulations were there and film sets were closed down, and then
Yeah.
people were being creative, and it just adds to that creative anxiety. Like, yo, I can be creating. So around that time, we were just like we gathered like the spare money we could, and like, hey, let's book some people, let's book a location, let's make this one night shoot, like a
Mm-hmm.
was that a 8 hour short film, like shoot it in eight
Mm-hmm.
hours and I'm
Yeah.
excited. I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited to release it later this year. We shot it with me and my stepbrother wrote it, actually, Kevin Alandon,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone was a part of it. It's gonna be great. And I just want to tie in like with Howling Gale's like mission statement, like what we aim to deliver is also easily deliverable here on this format. Won't you guys agree?
Exactly. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that um, with our new mission statement now, which deals with different perspectives, is basically our theme. Different perspectives, different issues that we can all learn from. And I feel like if we have a lot of topics to cover, that a bunch of people who think differently and then can look at this podcast and learn from it, whether it's a topic about filmmaking, whether it's a topic about music, entertainment, could be really anything, depending on who our guest is. I think
Mm-hmm.
that this podcast can serve as a way to have people to be educated and learn about different things and different issues. So, and then we sort of reformatted this a little bit, especially for this season. As you can see now, we are currently in our comfort of our homes. In our first 5 episodes of season one, we had a small studio with a black background, and then we shot that in 2 cameras, and then it went pretty well. I think that we learned quite a bit from our guests as well. But I think for the ease of just making this happen, I think that doing this remotely for now would be best, at least for this episode. Nick is at his studio, Nichole's at her studio, and I'm in my workstation. So I feel like it's a way for us to be able to have guests easier. I think we have a few guests from out of state that are not from California that we have in mind to be a part of this podcast. So we're just very excited to have them on board.
Yeah, and it gives us a advantage of having like Filipino voices who probably wouldn't have been heard in America. Like we'll have guests from the motherland as well sometimes and share their stories here, and we'll all just be learning on this podcast. So we're glad if you're still sticking around. That is our future plan. But besides Howling Gale, and you'll follow us on Instagram, Howling Gale Entertainment, as well as Facebook, Howling Gale Entertainment. Currently, as of recording this episode, our logo is a black wolf. We are going through some redesigns here, so if it looks anything like us, just hit that follow button and we'll be glad. So moving on, speaking of learning from our viewers and our guests as well, like when you guys reach out to us, I want to ask a question to my team and friends here. Let's start with Nichole and we'll move to Juan. Since it's like still January of the brand new year, I want to know what was two of the biggest lessons you guys have learned last year.
I would say patience was one of the biggest things I've learned last year. Because personally, for me, I felt like last year was so much slower work wise, and I really had to be patient and also not define my worth from my work. And I know sometimes, like, as artists, that, that feeling always like creeps up on us. And, sometimes, you just gotta have to like fight that feeling off and tell that voice in your head that no, you're actually not right. And so, yeah, just learning, to be patient and, just keep doing your own work and, hopefully opportunities like comes your way, I guess. But also work enough to make those opportunities available for you, I guess. Like have the discipline to do so. So that's one of the things that I learned. Um, Second, I would say is I don't know, just being in the moment. I would say like enjoying the present times. I feel like those two like come hand in hand together. Um, so yeah, just trying to enjoy moments with like different people and like people you love, and just being present with them, I think is a
Not to
huge thing.
block off
So
like
yeah,
thinking about worrying about the future or whatever. Okay, I like that.
exactly. Yeah.
How about you, Juan?
Yeah, I was just writing down my two
Some
options here.
notes.
Yeah, so I'm kind of glad Nicole started first. I was like, oh, what do I think? So my first one involves our feature film that we created last year, and it was basically a year process. Even though we wrote this film way back, 2019, way back, and then we just kept expanding on it. We literally worked on it last year, basically the whole year. So, creating a feature film in itself is very difficult. There's so many things to consider, especially as a producer. There's so many things you have to do, so many things, including even the writing process is such a long journey. And especially, you know, I think I speak for, films that do not have much resources or funding. So my first lesson would have to be when there's anything that you try to do or try to accomplish, you have to have a set goal or plan for what it is. So for example, in Tahanan, we had so many things to consider. We are in LA, and we were pretty much struggling, at least in the beginning, to find Filipino actors, Filipino filmmakers, stuff like that. So it was essentially a long process. But the thing is, having Tahanan from start to finish last year, I didn't even know we were able to do it. I personally believe realistically, like in the back of my mind, like in the beginning of last year, there's no way we're going to do this. I know we finished the script. I know we did drafts here and there, but there's no way. So I'm just like, you know what? Let's just work on it. Let's finish the script. If it happens, if it happens. If it happens, then it happens. But if not, then it's whatever. So I just continued to work on it. But as soon as we got the first few auditions for the role of the main characters, we were like, wait, this is actually going to happen. I think there's a realistic chance that we will film this year, finish writing this year, edit it this year, submit it this year, and then win this year in the film festival. And it happened.
Hell yeah.
That's insane to even think about. And then going back to the lesson learned, I feel like none of that would have been possible without just a strategic plan with, a team that you trust, a team that is very reliable. So I just have to pat everyone's back for that, for, setting up schedules, setting up deadlines, setting up, different things. And then just having such an organized team and an organized way of doing things really was a big change, game changer for us. I remember working on previous projects in the past, and then there was a lot of people, a lot of heads in the project, a lot of people who, basically have diverse ideas, etc., which is fine. I think that, in some projects, exactly. I think that structure is very important. I think that if you're gonna have so many heads in a project, I feel like if you're all linked together, you're all on the same page and have basically great communication with one another. I think that's okay. But if everyone's just all over the place and you don't have a plan whatsoever, then it's gonna fall apart. I believe, and it's just not. It's not only for films that I'm referring to. I'm referring to basically everything else in life. If you have a plan, if you have a goal and you stick to it and make sure you're organized in every way, then I think that you're going to get it done.
All you got to do is follow through.
Yeah. All you got to do is follow through.
Yeah,
and
good lessons.
Yeah, and then it
Mm-hmm.
takes a team to build a village, basically. That was my second one, which kind of ties into the first lesson, I think, because, making a film in itself is super difficult. And if you think that you can do everything by yourself, then you're just wrong. I think that I had that mindset in the past, actually. I think it was back in 2015, 2016. I'll do everything. I'll do sound, I'll do directing, I'll shoot it. I'll be an actor in the same film. I can do everything by myself. And I feel like a lot of people, not a lot, maybe some people, have that kind of same mindset. But, I feel like right now, my mindset right now is everyone has their own skills and expertise. They all know what they're doing, and they're all really good at what they're doing. So, if you have a team of people who have, basically the same ambitions with different skill sets, and they all work together to accomplish a goal, like for example, a feature film or project like Tahanan, then it's gonna
Or even
it's
like
gonna be
building a
done.
house, right?
House, what? I don't know, a
A
YouTube
kitchen,
channel.
like if you were gonna
Yeah,
like be a chef and
exactly.
be an efficient chef, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, those are my lessons, I
Yeah.
guess.
All right. Shoot, that's gonna be a hard one to seem very simple here, but my first one is be kind. I think that is a lesson that I need to, that we keep learning for the year. And when I say
Mm-hmm.
be kind to others, but also be kind to yourself. You have to know when you're stretched too thin, when you kind of need to rest, when you kind of need a break, because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
everything you know in your head is your reality, is your world. So if you're not taking care of yourself, your world is, stressed, exhausted,
Mm-hmm.
fatigued, and you can't continue on that way. So definitely like be kind, everyone. The next one
Oh.
is, which one would I pick? For I guess for the sake of this podcast, is you only know what you know, right? Like if I had a book in front of me right now and I told you one, do you know what this book is about? And of course you don't know. You haven't read it yet. But when you read it, you're suddenly like, "Holy shit, Nick. My life was expanded because of this new thing I
Yeah.
learned." And I think moving forward with that mindset and growing old, that's my goal. Like I don't want to be someone stuck at like, 50 years old and only sticking to what I know and very rigid in like my views. Like be open to experience, be open to other people's experience and learn from it. And I think like the world can go a long way with that in mind. Or you yourself, like you'll instead of fighting against the rapids or against the waves, you go with it and you're learning. So
Nice. Love that.
that was a yeah, that was a great. I've learned, thank you for your little insights, guys. And we'll move on to the next question, which we don't really talk about this to other people. So I guess this is our space to kind of like take that microphone and kind of talk about our past. So Nicole, the question starts with you. How was
What is this
and
relationship?
this is suddenly a relationship podcast.
What are we talking about?
Because in the Philippines, like me, for the untrained eye, for the unacquainted eye, you may think like, oh, Juan, Nick, and Nicole are Filipino. They probably have everything the same back home, but it's not like that. So we're gonna start on how each of us kind of grew up in the Philippines and how that was like. So, Nicole, if you'd want to take the reins right here.
So yeah, I grew up probably in like the most different setting from these guys, because these guys are city boys. I
Yep.
grew up in the province of Ilocos Norte, way up further north of Luzon. And I grew up also like not in the city of Ilocos Norte, not in Lawag City. It is like my city is Lawag City, but I grew up like more in the rural area. Like my backyard is literally like fields and stuff
You
like
grew up
that.
in the
So
country.
I grew up in the
Countryside.
country. Yeah. So wait, can we speak Tagalog here or is it
I
just
mean,
like straight up English?
Not a lot of people will understand Tagalog, so in your
Okay, okay, okay.
discretion, use your discretion.
Okay, okay. I'll just use English. But yeah, so I grew up like a little bit further away from the city, but I did go to school in the city in Lawag. That's where I went to elementary school in Lawag City. And I've always been like further away from the city, so it's hard like hanging out with my friends like after school. I would hang out with them, but like not like for a longer time because it was really hard to commute like from the city like to go back home. So I have like my sundo with me. So like the person who drives me home and to school basically. So yeah, that's the kind of environment that I grew up in. Um I do have, I guess, the first introduction of film even to me is mostly just from things that I consume, you know, on TV, on the internet. But I felt like, people who worked in entertainment wasn't really as accessible to me as they are here in LA. Like it's so like different. There's probably like just a couple of people who are like in the arts in my family. Um, Most of them are writers. There was one photographer. Um, but that was like just about it. And they were just doing like photography for like a studio, like a photo studio basically. So I really had to venture out in order to, uh study, the different cultures of the Philippines, I guess, and like, be introduced to different kinds of people. And yeah, um and so after elementary, I went to high school to another city, but still, still in the province. It's just a little bit further. Got to meet a lot of people from different walks of life, basically. And, it's always great to be around like different kinds of people because, it introduces you to different storylines of people and it allows you to be more compassionate. So
Yeah,
yeah, that was really nice. And then for my university, I guess that is my first introduction of, living in the big city basically. Like my first year in college, I went to Baguio. And Baguio is a pretty like big city already. Not as big as Manila, but still a big city, for a province kid like me. And yeah, I went to University of the Philippines, and you know UP is known for being very liberal, and it was a little bit of a culture shock for me, but like in a good way. I feel like it just felt like I was entering this new environment, and I was very open into like learning, and getting to know like a bunch of like new people. So entering UP, even though when I moved to Diliman, really opened up my I don't know, my mind to like just almost about everything, like politics, social issues,
different way
different
of
kind of
living. Yeah.
people, different way of living. Because even in UP too, like it was a varied, you know, different kind of people, different kind of economical status, different kind of
It was a
I
melting
don't know.
pot.
It definitely was a melting pot. So that kind of is, I guess, how
Yeah.
I grew up, and I guess it makes me the person I am today.
Yeah, a
So,
quick follow-up question there.
hmm
What challenges would you say helped you in adjusting to America? Because as immigrants, I think that book is big. Like adjusting
hmm
to a whole new culture, like understanding Filipino culture is a different thing. But coming here to America, what braced you? I guess is the question.
I guess what braced me was that I've always been like bouncing around, like even school wise. Like for my elementary school, I went to like two different school from like first grade to third grade, and then another school for fourth grade to sixth grade. And then for my high school, I went to a different school. And for my university, I had to move out of the province. So even that, I guess having that independence, um before I even had to come here in the States to a different country, was such a big help. It was really hard at first, but I really like the independence as well. It allows you, being by yourself just allows you to know more about yourself, and know what you like, what you
Rather
like
than
doing,
hearing it
what you
from
don't
other
like.
people. Oh, you gotta be like this. You gotta
Exactly.
be like that. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so like that was one of the things that probably helped me. And I don't know, I've also been exposed to a lot of like, you know, western, like, I guess, media, to know
Oh
some
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
about it, to feel a little bit more comfortable like moving here. So, yeah. Those
Okay.
were, I guess, one of like the challenges that helped me.
Nichole Ruiz, everybody. Juan.
Woohoo!
Juan, your turn. You need the question again, or
Give me the question again.
how was your life like growing up in the Philippines? We'll go from like childhood to college, and then what challenges helped you adjust to living in America? Take the floor.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I've already spent more than half of my life in the States already. So I'm like, oh my God.
Whoa.
So let's start with the first half. So I grew up in Quezon City with my family, my mother, my father, and my sister. And just fast forwarding to, I guess, elementary school, my mother already moved to the United States beforehand. So it was just my dad and my sister in the beginning. And I went to the school, and it's a very private school called Community of Learners. And then that's
Yeah.
actually how I met Nick here. So we've basically known each other for quite a long time. We were never actually talkative. We never talked. We never spoke to each other in person as much back in the Philippines. Um, but I think when Nick moved here, I think it was like 2012 or 13, was it? I found
Yeah,
out
12.
that 12. I found out he was in Glendale. I looked at his Facebook. He was in Glendale, so I had to reach out to him. Yo, Nick, are you here in Glendale? He's like, yeah, I'm here. I'm already,
No, you're like, are you in
working.
America? I was like, yeah, why? Where are you? California. Where in California?
California.
Glendale.
Yeah. So I found out it was so close. So I just wanted to link up with him and, catch up with everything that's been going on. And now we're coworkers and making movies together. So that's great.
Awesome.
But going back to the Philippines, I was very much such an introverted person even until today. I grew up playing various video games, including Nintendo video games. I played a bunch of PlayStation 2 back home.
Every time you guys invite for like parties in your backyard, it's always Smash. And I'm like, oh, I suck
Yeah.
at Smash. And you guys are good. You guys are good at Smash.
So if you're a listener here, if you play Super Smash Bros, let's play. Let's do it. Yeah, just grew
Uh-oh.
up playing a lot of video games, which is interesting because it's actually the thing that got me most into filmmaking. So I played this game called RuneScape, which was it's a free open world kind of game that anyone can just go online, and it doesn't require a very expensive graphics card. So any computer can literally play it and then talk to each other online, go to places, etc. But what got me into filmmaking from that is I noticed that when I search RuneScape in YouTube, I see a lot of RuneScape music videos here and there. So I really got hooked to the idea of, oh my god, you can make videos online. You can just record the screen and then make videos out of it. It's like, whoa, that's so cool. I'll keep that idea in mind. And then a few months later, while I was playing RuneScape, I saw like a few people making RuneScape music videos. And then I was just like telling them, yo, are you guys making a music video? Because you communicate by typing in RuneScape. So are you guys making a music video?
Messed up their video.
I did mess up their video. I was in it. So I was like, I want to be in this. Gonna be on YouTube. I'm gonna be famous. I don't. For some reason, I wanted to be on YouTube so I can watch myself and be famous. So I ended up being in that video. I don't know where it is now, but it had a few thousand views or whatever. So I got very intrigued by the whole process of
We were sitting with a celebrity here. Sure.
Exactly. I was just so fascinated about the process of, putting things together in a clip and then, making sure or having it released somewhere online on YouTube. And then YouTube at the time was just the infancy stage, and there was like a bunch of random videos. The Wild West. Yeah. Anything was there. So, but then a few weeks later, I got so intrigued about the whole process again, and I was like, wait, how do they do this? How do they come up with a video using screen recording and then posting it online? And then I did a lot of research about it, and then I saw that you can, for free, if you have a personal computer at home, there's this software called Windows Movie Maker, and then you can just put clips there, put things together. You can add music, you can do different things, and then you can export that and then upload it on anywhere, any media site. YouTube was the only one at the time, so I was like, maybe I'll start doing that. So I started creating just a bunch of random RuneScape music videos, and then as time went by, I just got fascinated with different things, like working with the timeline, adding effects, making random transitions. Like, for example, those transitions that just they're so silly that don't make sense. It's like a page roll. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then where it bubbles.
Yeah, the bubbles thing. Yeah. So I found those so entertaining and very funny, and then I learned a few more things, like adding titles, adding text on the screen. I'm like, wow. And then I was so young at the time. I think I was like 11 to 12, and I was very much at the time. Just a backstory. I was pretty much training guitar for quite a long time. I think it started at like 6 to 7 or 8 years old or whatever, and I was basically practicing every week. I would go on competitions. I would go to recitals, and I think that was my first passion at the time, and I've always found it fascinating. I still play guitar today. I don't do as much, but I think after playing RuneScape and after going through that whole process of I guess digital filmmaking, whatever you want to call it, I really something sparked in my head, like I really want to be an editor now. Like, maybe this is something I want to do.
And you lived in LA, so
no, I was in the Philippines back then when I was making
you were in
those
the Philippines
videos.
back then. Okay.
Yeah, because I moved here in 2009, so I was making videos back in 2006 or 7 or 8. So I was like, wow, this is fun. I wanna pursue this. So just fast forward to later, 2009. I ended up going to a high school that has a curriculum that involves filmmaking. So I went to that high school because it had film in it. And ever since, I just never stopped learning about editing. I just was so fascinated about, tools you can use, different softwares you can use, like Final Cut Pro and Avid Media Composer. So I think that, ever since that happened, just playing that one game, I just wanted to create stories visually. Just wanted to create stories that people can learn from. And even until now, I think that every time I'm working on a project that involves filmmaking, I always look back into those days where I started in the beginning with a really bad setup before. I didn't have much resources before. I always look back into those days and tell myself, wow, you've come so far. So, yeah, so
Humble
that's my
beginnings, man.
story. Yeah, I've always wanted to be an editor, and I think I'm going to be an editor for the rest of my life. I hope so.
Yeah. I have a code name for one. I call him the magician because he's really good at editing. Long track record as well. So a quick one for me. I grew up in the city as well. I grew up in San. I was born in San Juan. My father is actually American. He was in the Marines station. I can't tell the full story, I guess, but stationed in Japan, ended up in the Philippines, and then met my mother. They got married, and poof, there I was. And I was born in San Juan. Grew up in Katipunan after 2 years in San Juan. Moved back in with my grandparents and my mom, and then city boy. And then from there, I think my very first school was Community of Learners. Like I went to a kindergarten and then straight to Community of Learners. And then the Community of Learners was super private school. Not even people in the Philippines really know what that school is, but it was really
I
progressive.
didn't even know about that
Yeah.
school.
Oh, people near us didn't even know we existed. Like it was
Yeah.
just really private. And it was started if people don't know the history, there was like a martial law in the Philippines. Like we're not going to get politically, but there's martial law, and then the teachers basically wanted to change the world at that time, and the thing that they could do was start a school. And our theme song was actually like based on those beginnings, the starting beginnings of that school they started. And I really like it. I'd want my children to go to a school like that, very progressive, very open thinking about people, like, people's learning abilities, people's capacities for education and stuff like that. Because we work there alongside children with special needs, various levels. So at a young age, we were very open to like, oh, okay, people like this exist. And then it teaches you how to live with it rather than like point at them and laugh and then whatever like that. So really, really love that school. Shout out to all my alumni and all the students going there. Community of learners, that's what's up, um, and then college, I went to Ateneo. Nicole, don't comment, please. But
What?
uh, compared to University of the Philippines, and it has like a higher tuition, so it tends to be like a different echelon of people going there, and it breeds some kind of thinking. And I'll leave it there. That's a different conversation for another time. But throughout my life, I was very interested in like people because growing up, I had to fit in because I was that dark kid with the weird nose and the curly hair, and I didn't know I didn't know Tagalog at first, so I was an easy picking for being bullied. And I just learned to like fit in enough to not be laughed at,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think that really helped me come to America, because coming to America too is like, oh, are you American? Like I don't really fit in like the social norms. So you could say like, oh, you're part black, but then the black community is also like, you're not black. You don't know what it's like to be raised in America. And I'm like, oh, true, fair. So I'm kind of like what do you call that? A wild card.
Wild card.
But that's basically it. I don't want to take up too much time. We're running close in time here. Without spoiling anything or revealing any of our IPs, what is what are some of your current projects or things that make you excited about the future?
Future excitements. I'm working on this documentary. I've been working on it for a while. Um, and just two things that I'm gonna say. It's about Filipino food and
Culture.
I guess, and how it is living in a different country and trying to preserve your culture.
Okay.
That's those are the two things.
Beautiful.
But I'm really excited to get that ball rolling for that project. So yeah.
We can have another 15
Nice.
minutes of conversation about Filipino food here, but
I'm
or
down.
Juan, what are you?
A few music videos in the works. And I have so many ideas in mind that I want to just, work on so badly. But I don't know, maybe can I give like a small hint, I guess.
Hey,
Yeah.
as long as people don't take it and run with it, and then suddenly you're you're just there
I
like, hey,
think
this
you're
guy stole
fine.
my idea. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. I'm working on this one short film, or it could be a series or a feature. I'm not sure the format of it is yet. And it's about a husband who falls in love with a artificial intelligence entity, I guess.
What excites you? What excites you for the near future here?
One thing that excites me about each project I make is the friendships we make, the new connections we make as well. And, I think just the bond we have with each other. A lot of films and projects out there, just involve, a lot of work because film does take a lot of labor. But at the end of the day, once everything is finished, once everything is wrapped, and once maybe if things are even released, then you can go back and look at that project or film and be like, wow, we just did that. We just accomplished that. And we did everything from start to finish. And it was such an amazing job we did. And it was very much a hard worked project. So, especially last year. Going into Tahana last year, I wasn't excited too much in the beginning just because I was so skeptical. But I think that once the process was, getting finished, I was like, wow, this is happening. And then I got more excited at the end. So now I have a different mindset of whatever project I'm working on in the future. I'm just, eager to, make things happen, eager to work on, myself as well. I feel like every project I'm learning something new each day and learning new things from different people. So I'm just excited about what the future holds. I'm excited about the final end result of our films that we are creating. I am excited for people to listen to this podcast and hopefully they learn something new in life. And I'm just super excited for the future.
Nice, nice. Yeah, and speaking about like when you were unsure about stuff, I think that's the perfect. We have the perfect balance of like mindsets to kind of like offset each other and kind of fill in the blanks. Because if we all kind of thought the same way, then there would be kind of blanks, you know.
Yeah.
Like you need some sort of optimist, some kind of pessimist, some kind of realist. I'm not gonna say who's who, but it's a great little balance. Just to follow up on that question there, not to leave you guys out in the rain. Some projects I've been working on. I have one feature film that we're kind of like. I'm not really putting too much emphasis on it because it needs a lot of budget, so I'm just kind of writing it here and there. But I've been writing that for 3 years, and I think that's going to be like a crown thing. Like it's something that's coming straight from my heart, and it's been something I've really been thinking about for a long, long time. That's all I'm gonna say about it.
There you go.
And something that makes me and a couple short films too. Howling Gale's gonna be busy this year, so keep an eye
Yes.
out for that. And something I'm excited for is hosting this brand new podcast with these two wonderful people and watching the stories that they can unfold that I will personally be watching myself.
LFG.
LFG.
And on that segue, thank you everyone for watching The Howl. with Juan Raymundo Ramos, Nichole Ruiz, and myself, Nicholas Barber. It has been a pleasure talking to these wonderful people and sharing their stories and our future plans with all of you. So, if you guys have any last words for the audience,
Get ready to check out the Hanan in the big screen coming in a couple of months. We'll give you information, but follow at Howling Gale Entertainment to be posted for our events for Tahanan and all our other projects as well. And I just wanted to plug, um, we're recording this January 26th, and Sayona, which is our uh, song, one of
theme
our
song, yeah.
credit song for Tahanan, is releasing
Tonight.
later today,
In three
actually.
hours,
So,
yeah.
yeah, in a couple of hours. So, definitely stream that on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, all the streaming websites. It's gonna be a really great OPM song. I think you should definitely give it a listen.
Yes, please. Sayona, if in case you don't know how to spell it, it's Sayo space Na. And it'll be in all platforms. And I just want to give a shout out to Rosic Mark, who produced that song, and Ryan Radasa, who wrote it, as well as, and then Kenneth Lorente and Clarence were the performers of the song. Very talented singers. And please check out the song everywhere. And we're going to be making the music video this weekend, and it'll be out very soon. And then I want to give a shout out to myself. So my name is Juan Tonomo. So on Instagram is JuanTonomoe. So follow that
Yes.
channel, and also at Howling Gale Entertainment on Instagram as well.
Mag-plug ka na din, Nick. Plug din tayo.
Yun ko na yung, no, thank you everyone for watching. It has been really great. It is a pleasure and an honor to actually just share stories on a platform like a podcast. It's a really flexible way to do that. And stay tuned for all our next episodes on The Howl.